Once the CIA agent determined that my dad was not a Cuban spy.
What are your favorite hotspots in Miami? Let's do a little personal side.
That's where police went after shooting to kind of decompress.
And welcome to Gamechangers live from our home studio here at FIU's College of Communications, Architecture, and the Arts. My name is Sergio, your host. And each and every episode, we bring you a game changer. And this game changer right here sitting in front of me is Ana Veiga-Milton. Needs no introduction. She is a hometown hero. Everyone knows her. Valedictorian. You went to University of Miami on a full ride, right? Computer engineering and
Law school.
and then law school afterwards, summa cum laude, if I'm correct.
Correct.
And you have been not only successful in business and in your law, but with the Milton Family Foundation, the Jose Milton Foundation. Tell me a little bit about your background, because obviously education is a major part of your life. Was that something that was instilled in you at an early age with your parents, or was that something that just came naturally to you? Let's start there, then we'll get into everything else.
Well, as you know, having that immigrant backstory, being an immigrant to this country, you're taught very early on that an education is your key to success.
Especially from a Cuban family.
Especially from a Cuban family. So, what they would say, Fidel could not take away your education.
Correct.
And my dad happened to be an engineer. He studied engineering at the University of Havana. So he was working with AT&T and telecommunications in Cuba. So it was easy to transfer those skills over to the United States. So first we ended up going to, I was 1 year old when we left Cuba. We went to Spain. In Spain, for about a month, my parents were trying to find their way. They had no money. They pretty much had their clothes on their backs to get settled. But my dad got a job building the first radar systems in the Canary Islands, a very strategic location where he ran into a Cuban-American CIA agent.
Your kid.
So once the CIA agent determined that my dad was not a Cuban spy, so he said, hey, the United States is wide open for engineers and technical people.
Right.
We're welcoming you. If that's your goal, I'll help you get there. Within a couple of weeks, we were in New Jersey. So it was like a grand welcoming to the United States. My dad got a job right away. Then he studied for his master's degree because he wanted to prove to this country that he belonged here and that his English was better and all that. So I grew up with that background, knowing that an education, especially a STEM education, is really meaningful and helpful because there's no borders, right? Once you know math is your language, and you can master it as your tool. You can work anywhere and be welcomed everywhere.
Did it come easy to you, or did you have to work?
No, math came easy. Yeah. Law school was a different story. So mathematics, I just loved math. I loved how math can explain how the world works.
Right.
So I was always fascinated by math. I always loved that it had an answer. It's either right or wrong.
Right. Black.
Now when you get with engineering, you have thresholds and you have a little giveaway. Right. Your answers you can fool around with the numbers, but math has answers. And when you submit an essay, you're at the whim of the teacher to decide whether it's good or not. But when you submit a math problem, you walk out of test.
Exactly. I got this.
So I really liked that part of math. And my dad, he was always very techie. He learned computers in his 60s. He ended up coming to Florida International, to FIU, to study classes for fun after he retired. Technical.
Yeah, just a lifelong learner.
Coding. He taught me C++ when I was in middle school and elementary. Yep. Because he loved the idea of computers doing things for you. Being able to handle complex.
Kind of ahead of his time.
Yeah, way ahead of his time. Right. And then of course my mom loved the idea of a daughter, being able to be out there and learn and make her way. So my dad had two daughters, and he was himself, he probably called himself a female, proponent. He was like a, pro-women, pro-female. And he always bugged us. He said, I said, you didn't want a boy? He says, I didn't know what to do with a boy. I don't know how to throw a football. And my dad was purely like an academic. He probably would have become a professor. It had not been this immigrant story that we journeyed together. So for me, education for my family, it's what it is. It's just a continuation of your life, and we're all lifelong learners. My children I've instilled that same quality in them. My husband the same way with his family. So it was like the merging of these two immigrant families that, believed in education. And that's one of the things that drives me, is to make sure that all kids here in South Florida have access to really good, educational opportunities.
Right. So that's a perfect entry then. So United Property Management, you guys own like 9,000 plus units. It provides a tremendous opportunity to then do good in terms of the things that you're passionate about, in terms of like quality, access to quality healthcare, education, research, that are tremendously important and vital, especially in South Florida. We have a big immigrant community.
Yeah.
So that provides you the tools and so forth. You're on a number of boards, if I can remember all these: United Way, the Zoo, Red Cross, the Girl Scouts, Jackson. What am I missing here?
Oh, where's the Jackson event?
Another one.
And I'm wearing my Jackson blue. And it's so, yeah.
So
yes, I've served on multiple boards because I believe that where I give, where my philanthropy goes, so does my volunteerism, and so does, like I pull from, my attention, and I pull from different buckets, let's say. So I have my corporate social responsibility,
side from,
which from that side, I'm able to get, our team members to kind of help. We do, blood drives. We host them in our communities. That's for the Red Cross. We host gift drives for the kids that go to Jackson, that are being cared for at Jackson. We participate in the run, the corporate run.
Right,
We participate in especially the zoo run, to make money, for conservation efforts and stuff. So that's one arm. And then I have my philanthropic arm, which is our family foundation. So we have the Jose Milton Foundation, which my father-in-law founded before his passing. And he did leave it for me to run. So he knew that I was always very involved in the community, very guilty to my kids' school. Even, when I worked, I was always involved. And for me, it was very important to give back. It's just second nature. And it's funny because yesterday I was in Tallahassee advocating for Girl Scouts and getting more money, for girls, and showing how Girl Scouts are the girl expert in Florida. And it reminded me of my own path through Girl Scouts. So Girl Scouts showed me the philanthropy side of me. So my dad in my immigrant story was the technical study, education, be the best you can be, study the hardest classes you can, do the most, get a scholarship, all that. And then the other side is my do good in this world. Acts of kindness, which now we call philanthropy. Get involved. Don't, be part of something bigger than you, right? The community.
Yeah.
So Girl Scouts instilled those values in me, and also showed me how to become American, because part of becoming American is, as Tocqueville described it back in the 1700s when he came from France, he said, Americans are the most generous people on this planet. He recognized that. And I still, I believe it. I get chills, because being an American means giving to strangers, right? I mean, we give to strangers all the time. We even give to strangers in other countries, in disaster like the Red Cross, or just, even our tax money goes all around the world to help people more in need. So I think that's a beautiful thing.
Absolutely. No, it's part of the fabric of the United States. Now, the Girl Scouts taught you that from coming from a Cuban family. I didn't grow up thinking about philanthropy. Right? I think a lot of Hispanic families don't think about that. It's not part of the kind of like the fabric of kind of what we grew up with. So that was a tremendous gift that you got from the Girl Scouts. So when I met my wife, I think that was in Tallahassee with you yesterday, she was the one that really taught me around, about philanthropy. What are some of the best ways for kids growing up? So if you, can talk to your younger self, right? What advice would you give them in terms of getting them to understand giving back? And it's not just obviously financial, right? But the big part of giving back is being there, paying attention, donating your time, your attention. What advice would you give your younger self, or other girls and boys that are young and haven't thought about philanthropy yet and the impact they can have?
So Joe, I'm glad you asked, and you actually brought up two really good points that I'd like to elaborate on a little bit. First of all, Hispanic families, sure, especially immigrant families, weren't really brought up with that idea of philanthropy because they were busy trying to survive, trying to get it through. But we were always very, very generous to the people around.
True.
Those we knew.
Right.
Family member needed a dish, you would give the shirt off your back if someone needed it.
That's true.
And you did. So we grew up with that Diaz, how many uncles and aunts did we all grow up with?
Yep.
You know, people unrelated to you, but that they were part of your family. So you were very generous within that circle, where the Americans take it another step.
Right.
Now you're generous with people you don't even know. So I was the beneficiary of a full scholarship to the University of Miami. Some guy named, and then I grew to learn that he was very famous, Isaac Bashevis Singer, gave money in a fund so that people like me can get a full scholarship and attend the University of Miami. He didn't know.
Yeah, I had no idea who you were, but
he believed that by helping people in need to get that education, he would help the community and he would help all of us. You know, he would help everybody thrive. So that's a really good point that I like to mention, that while Hispanics may not have given it publicly like that, they gave private ways, they gave to their church, they gave to like hospitals and doctors, but they did give privately. So one of my missions is to give very openly. And I love when I see Hispanic names on things, like and it open, because it shows, you know, that we are grateful to this country, right?
Sure.
That we belong here. We're grateful, and this is a way of showing gratitude, is by giving back. That's the best way to show gratitude.
Yes.
So could have gratitude in your heart, and there it stays. But if you should have acts of kindness, and it doesn't have to be money, like you said.
Right.
It could be presents. It could be just hearing somebody, helping someone get to the grocery store. That is philanthropy. So I really, really like that. Now, with the next generation coming in, that's tough because they haven't lived that immigrant story, right? They're the beneficiaries of what their great-grandparents, grandparents, and parents have gone through to bring them there. So my kids have raised very humbly. And they've been raised with the stories. We don't hide anything from them. You know, they're raised with, you need an education. You know, all my kids have, you know, at least one is working on his second degree, but they have 2 degrees each. Some even working while getting, you know, that extra degree. My daughter is working a big law job in Atlanta, coming back to Miami because eventually they all do. Yeah. But it's, you know, you have to instill that in them. Now, education, that you go to college, that's, we don't even talk about.
Yeah, that's a given.
Yeah, that's a given.
So whether you're going to get your MBA or your PhD.
Yes. Now, if someone didn't want to, I would make it really tough on them, and they would have to prove why they didn't want to. They would have to give an alternative, right?
Right.
So I do believe in putting obstacles in people's way sometimes, just so that they can have time to reflect and think if they really want to do it, and they're just not following what I'm expected to do. I want, you know, it's really nice when you want something. So I'm very proud of my kids. Actually, all this, I call them the third generation Americans, which are the grandchildren of my parents, my in-laws. All that generation, they're very, you know, academic. They study hard, they work hard, and they really, you know, they really want to show their grandparents, or if their grandparents were here, they wanted to show them that they merit what they have. They earned it. Yeah, right. It's not so easy. So I don't think I would do anything differently, but I think it's important to instill that community sense to your children. Don't let the schools do it, because while they try, if they don't see it at home, it doesn't make a same impression. And if you drive it to their history, to where they come from, I think it's a very powerful story to know where you come from. Yeah. And where you're headed, and how where you're headed is the legacy, right? You're carrying your family's legacy on your back, and you're really moving it forward. So that's something, you know, very, very important to us is that legacy, you can call it the brand of the family. Yeah, of course. But it's very important. And I tell them, I'm like,
I take pride in.
Yeah, we take pride in our name and our brand, and that's what we do. And we need to be consistent. You know, we need to be consistent. We need to be out there. So with that, my husband and I decided that we started our own foundation. Of course, it's not as powerful as the Jose Milton Foundation, but we wanted to complement some of the things they work with. So education, research, and healthcare, access to quality healthcare are the Jose Milton Foundation, the CISO and Ana Milton Family Foundation. We do conservation efforts and first responders. Because as we all know, after what happened to COVID, and whenever we have a disaster, first responders are always there for us. And we need to take care of them. We need to show them our gratitude by giving back. So one of the projects that my family did that I really love is, so during COVID, we saw that the 3 lobbies in the police headquarters, Miami-Dade Police headquarters, were dilapidated. They were terrible. That's where victims went sometimes to get it out. That's where police went after a shooting to kind of decompress. They were horrible. They had formica that was flipping in the edges. The window treatments were crispy,
Right, yeah.
Very old. They hadn't been touched in, I guess it's the 80s or 90s.
Wow.
So we went in there, we refurbished the 3 lobbies. There are 3 lobbies. Now they use that space for training, for lunch breaks, for bringing victims in, for, anytime someone needs to decompress. So I'm really proud of that. But then we took it a step further a few years, actually 2 years ago, I believe.
How long has it been open?
So since 2021, was right around 2022, we had the inauguration right when COVID was kind of over. Some people still wore masks.
Yeah.
But we try to forget that time. But we took it another step further. And so the commission, the Miami-Dade Commission approved horses, police, mounted police.
Right.
Horseback police. And it's great for community policing, which is how you prevent crime, right? It gets the kids involved. Kids love horses. It attracts. So police aren't so scary, right?
Yeah.
So, and I love our police. We have 6 mounted police. They're all different colors, different backgrounds, women included. Amazing. And they didn't have a place. So they thought they were going to go to Tropical Park to the stables. And they thought that magically they were going to open them up after 20 years of being shut down and use them. Well, rat infestation, the painting, refurbishing, everything that could go wrong was wrong. The only thing left was really destruction. So we went in there with our team, cleaned everything out, repainted, refurbished, added, it took us a few weeks to get it all done. We even put signs on the door. We created some makeshift air-conditioned spaces for not the horses. The horses have their stables, but a couple of those we converted into closed offices. So they're called workstation. Okay. So at the head of the police mounted patrol could have a space.
Right.
So and that's been extremely successful because now mounted police can go to festivals, to parades, and to schools, and they really connect with the students.
Yeah, it's a presence, it's something novel, kind of different, right? You don't see many horses walking around programs.
It's kind of impressive. Exactly. So that's kind of like the stuff we do for first responders, right? To help, just to show our community's gratitude. Sure. Because, our police, our firefighters, even our nurses or police, our front line, right? We see how important there is, and I want to encourage more kids, to be in those fields. And how do you show them? Because, it's like a point of pride. I want them to take pride. And how do you take pride? By having people acknowledge you and understanding that you're doing a great job.
Absolutely. Yeah, when you feel seen, valued, and heard, it makes a huge difference.
Correct.
Right, in the community in general. So, a little pivot. What books are you reading? What are your favorite hotspots in Miami? Let's do a little personal side. Get to know Ana, personally.
So I don't get to read much, but because I'm in the car or going here there, I do a lot of podcasts.
Yeah,
I do a lot of podcasts.
What's your favorite podcast?
I love revisionist history.
Revision is history.
Revisionist.
Oh, revisionist.
So it looks at historical events from a different perspective. Because, the winners write the history book.
Yeah, true.
So now they look at it from different perspectives and see what really, truly happened. So I love those. That's Malcolm Gladwell.
Oh, Malcolm Gladwell. Yeah.
So you have a
tipping point.
Yes, yeah. And so those are great. Those are my favorite. I listen to the Daily. So the New York Times is really one of my most trusted sources for information. And I really love how the reporters give you different angles on things going on. So you can form your own opinion.
Yeah.
It's I think what true journalism allows you to form your opinion without them inserting their own values.
Yeah.
So I do enjoy those, and I listen to CNN, the 5 things that happened today,
right.
and stuff. I do listen to some mindfulness apps and gratitude podcasts.
Yep.
Freakonomics. I read the book many years ago, and I absolutely love an economist's point of view on things and how
they see things completely different.
And things we think are working may not be working. And what drives, what drives people to do different acts, different economic activities.
Yep.
And what drives them, and it's all very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
So those are my books.
No.
or my podcast.
And
Yeah.
favorite place to eat? What are your
I love to cook.
restaurant? Yeah,
I do love to cook. So I cook just about anything.
Yeah.
Right now, my kids' favorites is I make
your top meal?
casserole, American cornbread, but I make it with cream cheese, so it becomes kind of gooey.
Ooh, nice.
So that's my go-to.
Make me hungry.
Lasagna. Yeah. So I do, it's hard because I kind of have to cook, and I like to do casseroles because I can cook them, like I put them together like at 3 in the afternoon, or when I come back from the gym, and I can go back to work and wait for them, and I can put them in the oven and come back from my workout and it's ready.
Yep.
So it's, so I like to cook a lot. I do, Christie's in Coral Gables.
Nice.
That's been our,
You're gonna
it's like
go to spot.
years with Chris Steakhouse. My husband's a big
Steak guy. Yeah.
kind of place. I do like the sushis, sushi and Greek food. I love, the Greek food spaces and stuff. So I'm willing to try anything new.
Right. You're right.
I guess.
And so working out, you work out.
Yeah.
It's like a non-negotiable. I need to work out because it helps me think better, think more clearly. Is that the same?
Completely. If people are always looking for the magic pill,
Yeah.
workout is the magic pill.
Yeah. They really.
They don't want to do it. I'm like, just get off your butt and go do something. And there's so many ways to work out.
Close or pull something
Yes.
your walk.
So, I don't know if you've done it, but there's this new electrical muscle stimulation workout where you put in a suit.
And it starts working your muscles. Right?
Yes, while you're working out for like 25 minutes, the intensity gets higher and higher until it stops. And then you end your workout, and it's like a 3-hour equivalent workout.
Wow.
But the great thing about it is since only 25 minutes,
Right.
and there's a step up. So you're really doing high for maybe 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Your body doesn't go through stress. Because like when you do a lot of workout, it kind of backfires on you because you go through stress, and then you have, hormones are not working the way they should be because your body's in fight or flight.
Yeah.
So it's a little weird. So this is like a very condensed workout that's very efficient, and boy, does it work. I'm sure it's great. So it burns calories, builds muscle, and you really use muscles that you didn't even know you had. So I love that. I love boxing. I just
Really?
rumble boxing. I don't paint my nails.
Okay.
I don't go to get my nails done. That is that's another hour I have every week that I can go to.
Right.
So I do, for me,
doing
it's
some
like
boxing
it's
now.
non-negotiable.
So you're doing some boxing.
I do boxing. I do.
That's good stress relief.
It is.
I can imagine.
It is. No, I'm like, someone ever tries to, do something, don't even mess with me.
You're looking forward to it. Like, let me put this to work and see this.
So I do a variety of things. I don't like to get bored. Like I can't do biking. I can't do the cycling.
Yeah, I get bored. I'm not going anywhere.
I'm not.
To go see, I'm making progress going somewhere. Here.
So yeah, I guess that's what I do for me is my daily workouts. And I try to get at least 5 in a week. 7 would be a really good week. 6 is a really good week, but 5 is my minimum.
So we just went to a 5K for Amigos for Kids.
Yes.
And I ended up, I had meniscus surgery on my knees, and so I my ultra runner friend who does like 60 miles, he tells me I got to start landing on the balls of my feet. So I will do that. And 100 feet in, I get a cramp in my calf that kills me. I had to just stop. Yeah, I wasn't used to it. But anyway, I'm a big believer in the sports side. So what's next for you? Where do you see yourself in 5 years, 10 years in terms of like the continuing impact, right? Do you see your kids coming up through the business, through the foundation, taking the baton and kind of carrying it forward? Or
that is the dream.
What do you see?
So my kids are all, my daughter is 27 and my other two, 30 and 32. So I have a grandbaby. 9 months old on my first grandson. So a lot of my time, like all my free evenings that they want to go out, I'm with the baby. I'm gonna stop going to events so I can take care of the baby. Because it's my baby, he's all mine. And I love spending time with him. And I see that as the next generation, right? So that's our legacy, right? The baby, he's right now.
And you're putting family first.
Absolutely. I've always put family first.
Right.
But one of the ways I've done that is I've been able to incorporate them and bring them along on this journey of philanthropy. So most of our outings, realistically, a majority of them are to philanthropic events.
Right.
Galas, the Jackson Miami Heat Day. It could be day events, could be evening events, the gift drive that we all get together and do the gift drive and then present it to the kids. So I do that, and also with our team members. So I try to bring everyone along, and it's quality. It's the most quality time you can have.
Yeah.
Because you're enjoying family time together. You know, we've done
you're having fun and you're doing something good.
Volunteer days at United Way. So my son has been very involved with United Way since he was in his early 20s. He's really, I guess right now, he's the one that's taking the baton. My second son, my first son is busy with his career and his baby.
How old are they?
So my 32 is my oldest with the baby, and then my other is 30. So, but he's studying now an executive MBA program at Kellogg.
Wow.
Here in Coral Gables.
Right.
We lucky. I mean, amazing.
That is awesome.
And he's a we're all University of Miami graduates.
Yeah.
So I said, you need at least one degree from the university.
Yeah.
I'm a double alum. My oldest is a double alum, but the other two have 1 degree each. And but he's super involved in our philanthropy. I gave a scholarship to the 5,000 role models, graduates of the 5,000 role models, which are sick. Their words, not mine, boys of color that are kind of like on the fence that maybe with just a little nudge and a little help, you can get them to college and you can really help their trajectory change of their family, like their legacy change. And I give scholarships to them. And then my son and my daughter sometimes have helped me interview them and even mentor them. Because I believe if you give someone a scholarship, giving them money and doing them a disservice. What you do is you give them guidance and hurrah, and you cheerlead for them, and they have someone, because sometimes they don't have a person in their family that knows what they're going through. Someone, when they tell you, oh, I aced this test, and you're like, oh, is that organic chemistry? Wow, that's amazing. That's like the hardest class. Like they want someone who understands that. Like, I'm going to finish early. I'm going to get a master's that 4th year. Do you keep my scholarship? So go for it. Absolutely. How can you, that's great that you're going for a master's degree. That kind of conversation from someone who values and understands.
They may not have that entirely.
Right. As opposed to, hey, I got an A in a class. Oh, yeah, great. Go and do the laundry. Or hey, I have to go to work, take care of your little brother. Many of them are immigrants.
Sure.
Many of them, are first generation or have had problems with family. So it's kind of nice to have that back.
No, it's critical. It's critical.
So I'm always like that. I also give a scholarship to Girl Scouts, and I do the same thing. Hey, are you doing? Maybe you should consider another major. Because sometimes they want to do a major and they get kind of, swayed one way because they think it's cool. Like, why don't you try this? And I always try to persuade kids to do engineering. So if you have an aptitude, if you can, please go into engineering because it opens doors to everything, and you can do anything you want. You become a CEO. You can go to either go to medical school, you can go to business school, you can go to law school. Your doors are.
It just changes the way you think.
It does.
The way you approach things.
It does.
So as we wrap this up, was there, and something I ask all my clients and my guests, was there a game-changing moment in your life that really just, it was a light bulb moment, an aha moment, or something that really just changed the trajectory of kind of maybe the way you think or the way you approach life? Was there that kind of moment that you can recall?
It's hard to think of a moment. I think when I received the full scholarship to the University of Miami, I think that was a huge moment for me, and that changed the trajectory of my life. Back then, it was Miami. My mom, first of all, cried if she thought at the thought of me going away.
Right, of course.
Cuban's mother do not like, especially daughters, to go away. So that was huge for me because my other path, and I was valedictorian of my high school, of Southwest Miami High School. I would have gone this degree.
Yeah.
I'm valedictorian, I really killed it at school. I was student government president.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was super involved. I was always very philanthropic, back then, my time and service. And they didn't even count hours then. So I just did it because I thought it was the right thing to do.
Right.
And then going to FIU, which had just started, because back in the 80s, FIU was
it was
a bunch of
couple buildings. Yeah, that's it.
That was it. And I was like, oh, whatever. And when I got the scholarship to it kind of made all my life worthwhile. Right. Made all the parties I missed, and all the activities, and all my dedication to school, it was like my report card. My final report card, got a scholarship to UM. So
it validated you, right?
Yes, absolutely. But, I've heard little nuggets of advice from people who didn't even know they were giving me advice. And I'll share two of them, especially with you. I had one mom who had a special needs kid in the same pre-K that my kid was. And she said once to me, she was always working out, but she couldn't. She was working, and you could tell she was frazzled a lot, but very calm. And she said to me once, she goes, life is long. And right now, I'm not able to work out probably for the next year or two, like how I liked. But there will be a time when I'll be able to do that again. And I said, wow, we always think of today as like it's a final and an end. And if I can't do it today, there's always tomorrow.
Perspective.
Yeah, she gave me this really great, and it really helped me. It was like this little piece, wise nugget. I wish I could find her and tell her
how impactful that was.
Actually, there's 3 pieces of advice. Another piece of advice is 99% of things you worry about don't happen. So I sleep really well at night. I don't worry about things. I write everything down if I have to, so I don't have to like keep it in my head. Right. And I don't worry, which kind of irks my mom to no end because she doesn't worry. You're not worried about this. I go, what's the point? If that happens, I'll be ready. Like I already made a note. If it happens, that 1% chance, I will be ready to deal with it. But I'm not going to worry about it because it hasn't happened.
Exactly.
So that's a really big one.
To that point, if you're worrying all the time, again, most of the things that seem massive that day, 5 years from now, you look back and you're like, what was that?
Or even the next day.
I mean, or the next day, I'm like, 2 weeks from now, you're like, that wasn't worth the stress, the mental anxiety to do for an hour.
So that's something I would tell you. Say what I would tell my younger kids that, don't fret the small stuff and don't worry about things. Just be ready. Be ready to go and get on with it.
Well, Ana, thank you so much for coming in. You're truly a game changer. You're doing immensely important things in our community. You're having a huge impact, and that's what this show is all about, is people who've done, amazing things for their organization, the community, and have a big impact. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I hope I inspire your viewers
Absolutely.
to really get back and think about how they can impact our community and make us all, better.
Absolutely. So make sure, if you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like, subscribe, and share this with somebody who needs to hear it, because you can be the game changer in their lives.